So this is Jaiyana and the Sea by Jay Wilburn. Let's see what comes of it. All right. The city was on its final breath. Even the rich center of commerce and city life was dying under pressures from outside and from within. The walls crumbled, providing, I probably need a comma there, but I'll get to it later. The walls crumbled, providing gaps through which any enemy might attack. The defenses fell. The armies broke apart without organized leadership. Prophets predicted the city's doom, but common any common man could have predicted, let's say prophesied as much without the aid of any magic or oracle. Perhaps they should have turned to her and the old ways much sooner. Everything makes sense in retrospect. Finding faith in the midst of disaster tends to be far harder than most people in easier times ever thinks. Most people think. Okay, that'd be singular or a plural verb there, sorry. Okay. As the bright and heavy laden, okay, let me see if I can get that spelled right. Okay, it just needs to be 2 words. As the bright and heavy laden ships of the enemy raced through the undefended harbor and approached the land without fear, everyone throughout the city prepared for the end. Then she rose up, as in legends few people still believed. Even those who witnessed this miracle from the decks of invading ships and from the ruins of a city in active decay did not believe the truth they saw unfolding before their eyes. She was a spirit of the water, and something greater than the tales about her ever captured. Water and waves turn to solid muscle. Her body, armor, and hair took on the shades of things that sit in water. Before that day, everyone associated those greens, browns, and grays with neglect and ruin. I need to find another word besides ruin, but I may have to come back for it. But she displayed her colors in strength. Her wings unfolded behind her. Some saw the feathered wingspan of an angel. Others saw, let's say, the leathery wings. Okay, I'm missing a letter. The leathery wings of a dragon or demon. A few claimed they were the gossamer wings of a dragonfly or a fairy, but writ large across the sky as she rose to her full height. Let's make this and a few, so that locks it off as an ended sentence. One man. Let me do a new paragraph here. No need for long paragraphs. All right, one man with eyes dimmed by age and sun only saw the shape, say the soft curved shape of wings outlined by bent wire with nothing of true substance within them. Maybe he was closer to the truth with his blurry vision. He might have seen through the illusion to what was made for the benefit of the attacker's terror. Whatever they saw, a nymph, a goddess, a statue covered in green and gray growths. Okay, a statue, let's say, come to life. I was going to put that at the end, but I think it's better at the beginning. Statue come to life, covered in green and gray growths, or some avenging spirit from out of the city's cultish past. Whatever she was, let's say however she was defined. However she was defined, she turned her back on the suffering city. Say, as she stood ankle deep, say calf deep, as she stood calf deep in the shallows of the harbor, she didn't turn her back on the desperate people in rejection. Let's say no comma, but in protection. She waded out into the deeper water to meet the ships on the calm surface. Let's say previously calm surface. On the previously calm surface. They wasted no time in gathering their archers along the decks and flinging a hail of arrows in an arc toward her. Alright, let's do a new paragraph. What hit did hurt her. She felt all the pain. She had been feeling the pain of the crumbling city for some time. That pain, the new pain of arrows, did not stop her and did not slow her. Let's make a new paragraph. As she reached for the vanguard of attack ships, they set the arrows on fire and sent tar covered stones spinning toward her, stoking the flames around them. As they struck her, she shook with the impacts, but every burning thing sizzled out and fell to the ancient, let's say to the piles of ancient debris at the bottom of the harbor. She did not laugh. None of this was funny. It was foolish, however, for those attacking fleets to think that they could bring down Jaiyana. Okay, that's one N, sorry. Jaiyana of the sea with fire, especially out on the water like this. Alright, her fists crumpled the fronts of the forward ships. Boards buckled, bent, and broke as the unfurled sails brought them into her fist, into her closed hands. I already said fist, so I'm going to try and change it up a little. Alright. Into her closed hands. It wasn't enough to sink them all, but some crew bailed over the sides on their own. She saw the thing finished by, let me not put a comma there. She saw the thing finished by flipping the ships, the damaged ships, flipping the damaged ships over like toys and pushed them under until they took on enough water to sink the rest of the way on their own. The other ships rallied. Oh, good Lord, can I not spell that word? They rallied, of course, and pressed the fight. It could have been courage, anger over their drowned friends, or the reality that this fleet had not known nor understood defeat for generations. They tried to fire projectiles. Okay, let me see if I can spell this right. Oh, I need a J in there, that's the problem. They tried to fire projectiles tied to ropes in order to tangle her and bring her down. It might have been slightly less foolish than using fire against a water spirit, but the ropes were equally ineffective. But the ropes were equally ineffective as with any attempt to capture water. She stomped down on the offending ships and chopped others with her hands. These broken vessels required no additional help with sinking. They all went down quickly and easily. All right. They all went down quickly and easily. All right. Those in the back of the fleet made to turn, but she did not stop. As she broke more of them apart, sending their crews to their doom. Those who still lived spied a mighty sword strapped to her side, to her hip. The great terror was that she never reached to draw it. The great terror was she never reached to draw it as she defeated them all. One ship still remained as it rushed for the mouth of the harbor. She stood straddle over it, and let me save real quick. She stood straddle over it and let them sail out, even though they were still in her range for quite some time. And they suspected that there was nowhere in the sea she could not reach them if she so desired. Not a man aboard that last ship doubted that they only lived through that day by her choice. They were kept alive to warn the rest. Unfortunately for everyone, those warnings were not taken by anyone not there to see that great defeat. She turned back. I'll say she turned to face the cheers of the people in the city who felt hope and joy for the first time they could remember in many years. She did not cast away their worship, but she did not swell with it either. As she crossed the harbor into the shallows, she came apart as if melting into great torrents of water in the sun. Her face, okay, I think I hit the caps going. Her face came apart last, and many people remembered that the most. Her face came apart last, and many people remembered that the most as she vanished back into the realm of water. Alright, I could stop it there, but I believe I'm going to do 3 beats in this story, which is kind of a fairy tale format. So this would make a decent flash fiction piece, I suppose. But I think I can do a little more with it, so we'll see. These may be things that are better cut later, but we'll find out. All right. The months that followed brought renewal to the city. People returned to hope and trade, both on land and sea, returned with it. People began to forget the threats of the past. With so doing, they did not find spare wealth. They did not find spare funds from the wealth returning to the city to rebuild the walls, defenses, and armies. Let's just say army singular and army. As such, in time, both the people of the city and other empires forgot that day of rescue. A new army crossed the land toward the undefended inland side of the city. I'm just going to have to say city again. All right. The new invaders had benefited greatly from the destruction of another empire's fleet. They also figured if the rumors of a water goddess in the harbor were remotely true, she would be powerless upon the land. The people cowered in fear behind what remained of the city walls. She rose from the water again. This time, let me put a comma there. This time she stepped out of the waves and walked through the widest avenue of the city, causing thunder. No, let's not say causing, let's say bringing thunder and quakes with every step. More sections of the city wall fell. Water sheeted off of her like heavy rain. She walked beyond the perimeter of the city and turned the desert into mud before her. Half the chariots turned to flee as the others tested the power of Jaiyana. No, that's an A first. Jaiyana. Out of her sea. Want to become famous? Oh, a bot. Everyone say hello to the bot. Okay. Alright, let's block you. And we will refresh. Alright. One more bot down, a billion more to go. Alright, half the chariots turned to flee as the others... Alright, I put an S there. As the others tested the power of Jaiyana out of her sea. This time, She drew her sword. They tried fire again, and it hurt, but it did not work. More decided to flee, but it was too late. I'm going to do it the same paragraph. Her blade saw them ended. More witnesses escaped this time, and traders within the city, let's say merchant traders within the city that day took the tales of Jaiyana and her city all throughout the world. Alright, one more break, one more beat in this story, and then we'll conclude it. More witnesses escaped this time, and merchant traders within the city that took the tales of Jaiyana and her within the city that day. I left out words. In the city that day took the tales of Jaiyana and her city all throughout the world. There was a great debate about rebuilding the walls, but those with the money to do so argued that it wasn't needed. Then something more terrible rose from the sea. This was a creature of water as well. It crawled over the surface using appendages that were not quite tentacles. No one who watched that day could focus their vision upon it enough to describe it well. As it drew closer and closer, many feared Jaiyana had abandoned them for not taking care of themselves, for taking her for granted. Her powerful hands broke the surface at the last moment. Her powerful hands broke the surface at the last moment and seized the unseeable creature by the blurry pieces of its body. The monster roared, and buildings fell. It reared back and thrashed, trying to break free of her. It pulled Jaiyana, who herself was only half formed, out of the water. Let's take a new paragraph. In their fight, the waves washed through many parts of the city, threatening many lives. They pushed one another back and forth for hours of struggle. Sometimes, let's use her name one last time. Jaiyana pushed the beast, say the terrible beast, out into the deep sea. Then the monster pushed back until it appeared. They would break over the harbor and wipe out the entire city. This battle progressed from days. No, progressed isn't the word I'm looking for. This battle prolonged from days to weeks. Weeks of terrible rain off the combatants' bodies, turned to months of flooding. Jaiyana finally caught a moment to draw her sword, and the people who had set about building levees to hold back the waves watched with hope. Alright, I need commas here because I've created a clause. Watched with hope. The beast knocked the sword from her grasp, and it sunk below the waves, becoming one with the sea again. Alright, we're in the home stretch here. Okay. The people returned to building up their defenses. those with money finally relented to the pressure of the people, and they paid to have the walls rebuilt. As the war continued between Jaiyana and the monster, the wealthy members of the city's upper class agreed to fund the training and equipping of a new army. Alright. Jaiyana finally gave up on trying to defeat the monster. She did not give up on protecting the city, though. In her mighty arms. Let's say with her mighty arms. Alright, with her mighty arms, she wrapped up the creature as it struggled to get free. She held tight and took it under the water. The sea grew furious and dangerous for all the years that followed. Only the most skilled sailors from the city could manage those waters. Both the monster and the city's great protector were creatures of water. Oh, thank you, Aunt Poggers. I appreciate the bits there. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Sorry I missed it when it first happened. Both the monster and the city's great protector were creatures of water. Being under the surface would not end either of them. She held on, though, and kept the terrible entity from doing its dark will. No, let's say from having its dark way with the city. The people knew she held the beasts back, but that left many other threats. They were responsible for holding back themselves. They went forward, generation to generation, in the spirit and courage of Jaiyana of the sea and of their city. Alright.